I might have heard you say this in one of your YouTube videos you made, that a filmmaker should not be finishing their script while still on set.
Yeah, and I know that, and I'll say that, yeah, that you should at least know what it's about. Now I know that these things happen on set. They even happen to me where you'll be in the middle of a scene and go, oh wait, this doesn't work. And sometimes those things, that's not what I was referring to.
Sure.
And the reason why is, especially if you're working in independent film, I don't know, you should be doing this all the time, but when you're doing indie film or a short film or whatever, you are going to be spending a lot of money that's probably either yours on your credit card or someone's money that you borrowed. You're going to be asking a lot of favors. A lot of people are going to be out there for you to make your project happen. And if you are not doing the due diligence to make sure that script is solid before you get there, then what are you doing? Like that is the thing that gets under my skin so quick when I'm watching someone's film and I can clearly see that they have not thought their story through before they filmed it. This happened way back when I first got into the business. I remember watching a friend's film and they'd done the exact same thing. They got deals from the camera house. They had all these actors come out for free. They even had a couple of name actors in it. And it was so bad. The story was terrible. And we were all kind of sitting in stunned silence at the end of the film, and they were up there in this Q&A. And the friend of mine that was with me, he asked them, like, is there any regrets that you have about the film, anything you do differently? And one of the writers said, yeah, I probably know who the bad guy was before we started shooting. And I'm like, how does this happen to not know that? And this is my theory. Filmmaking is like sex. It's exciting and it's the thing that everybody wants to run and do, right? We all want to just rush into it because it's just so much fun to have sex. Well, I mean, because yeah, it's exciting to yell action and cut and we're all there and we're creating this thing together. But what's even better is to romance it a little bit, to get to know it a little bit. Let's get to know my hero a little bit. Would he say this? Would he not say this? Would she react in this kind of way? Take some time, get to know each other, build up this relationship a little bit. And then when you get to the set, it's way more sexy and exciting because you're creating something special. As opposed to like, I don't know, I don't know why he's saying this line. I guess you gotta have that script done. And I get it, it's not sexy to sit there by yourself in your underwear and type this thing. To get someone to critique it and rip it apart and go through that humiliation process. That's hard, but that's called work. That's the work of filmmaking that a lot of us don't like to do and don't want to do, but you have to. And I'll tell you this, that that is the stage, the script writing phase. This is why independent film works, because when you're doing indie film, you cannot throw your money at your problems. You can't, ask for a few more days of filming. You don't have a few more days of filming. You have to get it then. But indie films, when you have a story that's great, that was well thought out, good structure, well-rounded characters, you can hang a lot of bad stuff on a great story and it still works. That's independent film. It can be out of focus. Still great. It still works because the story is there. Sure. You can have bad acting. Right. The story's there. I've forgiven a lot of bad acting, but the story's so compelling, I don't care. So that you cannot fast forward past that part of it. I've seen many independent films that are not shot well. I think we all have, right? They're shot, or independent film, right? They may have been shot on high 8. I don't know. They're still great because the story. I mean, look at, here's a great example, is 28 Days Later, shot by Danny Boyle, shot on high 8. That's like they did a great job. They had a great DP, but it's still high 8. It looks like high 8, but the story is so good, you don't care because it's just so well. And, you got great acting in it as well, but this is the engine that makes independent film go.
So when you're in a theater or you're watching something, whether it's, on TV, how soon into the film can you tell, oh, you know what? They were still rewriting the script while they were already day 2 of the first, incarnation.
Sometimes you can tell pretty fast. Sometimes you can tell it really, especially when you'll see, I've seen films even in the opening scene where I can tell that they didn't even think through the dialogue to make it clever, or work it very hard, where the characters are just saying dumb things. And that's just such a waste. Man, it's just a waste. Like, it's so hard to make movies. It's so hard to get them going, for all of us. And to just waste everybody's time like that is just a tragedy. Like, I can usually tell pretty quick. Sometimes it'll sneak up on you usually by halfway, 3/4 of the way through, that's when you'll start to go, oh no, they're not going this way with it, are they? Oh, they are. Oh. it just breaks your heart.
But then it seems like in the reverse, when you know a movie's great, it seems like it gets you from the opening music or whatever. Like I'm thinking of, is it The Infiltrator? Did you see that movie with Bryan Cranston and Diane Kruger? Oh, it's so great. And it was like instantly, and it doesn't necessarily, I'm not always into certain films like that, but instantly I knew this was an excellent film, and it had me from the opener, from the opening scene. Mm-hmm.
Isn't that funny how that works when you have, this is where like Christopher Nolan does this, Memento, right? Mm-hmm. I think it was the second film. Like the opening shot is a Polaroid, right? You see someone takes a picture of a Polaroid and they hold it up, and the credits are rolling, and the guy's shaking it, and the image is fading. And then you realize as you're watching, you're like, wait, this is running in reverse. Which is a theme, is a film about a guy losing his memory. And as he shakes the Polaroid, it's disappearing. Now that's a filmmaker who meticulously thought about every frame and every moment of that film. That's how you make great films. Do any of us really want to make just decent films or okay films? We want to make great films, right? We don't want to just like dork around. I don't. I mean, yeah, sure, it's fun to dork around sometimes, but if you're really doing it and you're spending someone else's money, you have I feel you have a responsibility to your investors, to your crew that are sacrificing themselves to be there, to make it incredible. Make it something that they want to show, and that's how you do it. You think about those little moments, those little nuances. I was on a music video a long time ago where they wanted to show, it was a Christian music video, it's kind of funny, but they wanted to show a high priest doing the Jewish high priest ritual. And the high priest that they got, I happen to know a little bit about this subject matter because my mom did, she did taught courses on what the high priests back in the Old Testament days did and what the garb that they wore. And the thing that they wore is they wore a thing called a mitre. It was a headpiece that's white, and it's very important that it's white. It symbolizes purity. So they have this actor show up, and he's wearing a black headpiece, and I'm like horrified. I'm like in my 20s, but I'm horrified. Like, you can't have that's so like wrong. Like, that color is important. Those were the costume that came as a result of someone not doing their research and meticulously looking at every shot and every frame and all of that stuff. It's important to get it right. Did
you say anything?
I actually did, and the director was like, man, I didn't realize it was that important. Well, yeah, look up in you're doing it. This is your subject. You got to do the research. And I could, if he had just told me 2 days before, I could have gotten the whole full-on costume there. But no, he just, I think they just wear what rabbis wear. No, that's a different thing. A rabbi and a high priest in the Old Testament are two separate things. A rabbi doesn't wear the breastplate like with the tribes of Israel on it, but the high priest does. Those are two separate things. So he was just getting them confused because of lack of research and lack of preparation. Like, films are made in the prep, not on set. They're made in the prep. When you get to set, everything should be smooth sailing and paint by numbers. But if you don't prep, and that starts with your script, your film will not be strong.
And then the other side to it is things do happen where you do several takes with actors, it doesn't feel right, dialogue's off, something's not right.
Yeah.
At what point do you think someone should make that call?
Like, when do you stop?
When do you stop and say, is it feedback from the actors? Is it something that you can just sense it in the room, like it's not working, and then you say, wait a minute, I think we need to rewrite either a scene or maybe even half of the...
That does happen. It does happen. And here's the thing, that's normal. That happens all the time, because you'll have a scene written that sounds great in your mind, or you read it even when you're reading it out loud, even in the script reading, and then you'll get to set and go, oh man, why does this feel wrong? Like this feels off. And yeah, I don't know what the cook time is and when you figure that out, but does happen. It happens a lot where you're looking at it. And it is important, I think, not to power through, but really question, wait a minute, why is he saying this? Why is she asking that question? This doesn't make any sense because they just asked this in the previous scene. So yeah, I've had to pivot in the moment. Oh, wait a minute, why don't we just go, take this whole line of dialogue out and just go forward? That does happen. And again, that's where the prep comes in, because you know those things will happen. You're preparing for that kind of thing to happen. Because if you've prepared it right and the actors are all on board and they know and they've done their prep, it'll allow you for those kinds of things to adjust. Yeah.